about what the situation is. So it's that I was, that was just one tiny example. I don't mean that's all that, because I appreciate that, the vision we have for the future is for buildings to be much less important. So it isn't really about how many hours they're spending in a day centre. I accept that. That was just an example of I was kind of broader point I was trying to express, is that, I think we as a committee need to be able to see some data as well as have a narrative about what the picture is and where we're going, if it's available. But I accept that in our community services, it's often very difficult to collect that data. Ian, did you want to come back in?
No, not on that specific point.
Okay, can I just ask one more question on this general point? And that's, so Louise, you were saying that we have sent out some letters to some people. I wondered in general where about the services that haven't fully remobilised, how do we communicate with people about their situation? I mean, are we, are we writing out to people, maybe say every couple of months about, well, I'm sorry, but this is still the situation, we still can't, how do we communicate, and how regularly do we communicate with people about how their service might be changing?
Do you want me to answer that, Louise, in relation to day services? Yeah. So we have a regular 6-month review, which is a formal review meeting, which involves all of the key stakeholders. But within all of the day services, right from the beginning of the pandemic, they were having weekly contact with families about where we were at and what we were doing. That has stepped back a bit, as many families have said, please stop phoning me once a week to tell me that actually nothing's changing particularly. But so there is regular contact with families. Because of the online work that people are doing as well, there's contact with the individuals themselves, and when they're kind of at the end of the bingo session, they will have a discussion about what's going to happen and when it's happening. But they've also set up other groups which is about what is going to happen and what's not happening. So there is regular contact with the families through the formal process of reviews, which every person has attended a day service at the point of demobilisation a few months back. They all had a review to talk about, were they going to come into the building, were they not, what is going to happen next. And every single person had one of those across Highland that was an existing attender to a day service. And then that just regular communication. So for our existing attenders, they've had quite a lot of contact. I think what the bit that is perhaps less so is those people who could potentially, now that we've got a different model, who could potentially be using some of the services that we're offering, we've not quite reached those people.
Okay, thanks for that. Hopefully we'll hear sort of how we might be trying to reach those people as we go forward in January. So that's great. Thank you, Arlene. Okay, so I've got Ian, Michael and Linda, and then I'm afraid I think we'll have to move on. And Ian.
Thanks, Anne. So as rep of the Social Work and Social Care Advisory Committee, I just wanted to say thank you to Louise for highlighting the increase in adult support and protection work. It's work that often goes on unseen and runs in the background, but actually it's the absolute priority for social workers. It is most often detailed work, detailed risk assessment, complex work, balancing those risks and trying to balance rights, responsibilities as well. And it can often be very time-consuming work too. So seeing a 300% rise over the last 3 years is a stonking increase. I think the committee should be aware of that, and I think it sets a very important context for a lot of the other work that takes place and what social workers are doing and what they're not doing, because that is really quite a frightening increase. I would like to be able to tell you around about what the determinants are of that increase. I don't know. I think there's a whole variety of different reasons that we're seeing it, but I would be speculating really to say that. But just to say thanks for putting that out there, Louise. I think it's really important. I think it's really important in setting the context of the work and the pressures on teams.
Okay, thank you, Ian. Absolutely. Michael?
Yes. So on page 64, item 6, capital projects, under Caithness. I wonder if Louise could give an update on the situation regarding North Coast redesign. Obviously, the Health Hub is very the big item on this, and I know there is information to give to the committee regarding the Highland Council meeting in October. But what I really wanted to know is that when are we going to start on a redesigned framework for health and social care for the communities from Melwood down to Lochindra?
Louise?
Thanks, Michael. Absolutely. I think to date, the focus has very much been on that hub, but equally, I totally agree with you. What we now need to do is start looking at that broader picture about what the whole of the service should look like. So I would say that we're starting that work as of now, but we have got a lot to do. And I think it is equally how we link that in with what we're doing in other areas. So all of the remote and rural areas need a focus on what are we going to do about at that broader provision. So the commitment is that we are starting that work, but we haven't got that far yet because the focus has very much been on that hub to date.
Okay. I mean, have you got any notion about what would be realistic in terms of a timetable for progress for that work, Louise? Or are you not at that stage yet?
I don't think we're at that stage yet. I chair the redesign group for North Coast and Caithness, which is a joint group. And at this point in time, it has very much been the focus of those two projects, which is the IA that's gone in for Caithness and the hub. We now need to have the discussion at the next meeting about how we explore the wider position about what we do in the here and now.
Okay, thank you. And Philip?
Yes, my apologies, Anne. I stick my hand in there after you had listed off everybody. And it was just to pick up on Ian's point there about the adult support and protection. And we've got this almost 300% increase, and it's over a 3-year period. And Ian was, I kind of noted, he said that we haven't any determinants about what's the cost behind that. And plus, I accept that. I just wonder what analysis has been or is being getting done with the causations, and what do we do to disseminate and embed any learning that's coming from those, and are there reports that can be shared with us with regard to that?
Okay, I see Simon's hands up on that point.
Chair, I'm conscious you're wanting to finish, so I'll try and be really quick with this and give a commitment that we'll provide further analysis in due course. But I would note something important about that 3-year period. The 3-year period goes back to the point where we had an external inspection of our adult support and protection services. Immediately following that, a number of people, particularly Allen McKenzie, Ian Thompson, became involved in re-examining where we were at with adult support and protection, looking at both the data that we're collecting, our normal recording as in case recording systems, and also looking at the conversations that were taking place with operational managers. Now, following on from that, we had Sheena McClelland, who was a very experienced team manager, did a tremendous job working with the team managers to improve recording and to improve awareness. And then subsequently, we've now got Molly Gilbert, who's come into post, taking forward the more developmental angles. So whilst Ian's absolutely right, there are a number of different themes, not least the impact of the pandemic, large-scale investigations, all sorts of things that are tied into this. There's a very definite point that I would point you to, which was we had an inspection. Our subsequent response to the inspection was we supported the view of the inspection that we needed to make major improvements, and those were undertaken. And the final bit I would say is that we have to recognise the role of the Adult Support and Protection Committee in driving forward some of those improvements as well, because Gary Coots, the chair, has been a robust chair and has been examining quite firmly what's been happening there as well. So just to give you a final bit of comfort, there is a lot of data analysis which is being provided that gets into significant granularity, and that takes place through the Adult Support and Protection Committee. But we can come back to you with more information on that, or take that outside if you wanted, just to help you. And I'll keep quiet now.
Sorry, I thought I saw somebody else's hand up, but I think that was probably not. Okay, so I think there were some other things in your report, Louise, which probably are relevant to that in terms of the analysis of workload of social workers, and looking at that in relation to, I presume that's partly related to this sort of increase in caseload. So I suppose it would be good to get some further information in a future report just about how we are prioritising and managing and learning from that increase in caseload. I think that would be helpful for the committee.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so any more before I finish this item? And is there are we content with the responses we've heard today, or is there any other items that people feel need to be escalated beyond the committee? That's what we're being asked. Or are we happy with the further information that will be provided on these issues? Okay, yep, thumbs up. Right, sorry, my phone's ringing in the background here. Okay, thank you very much. And so just to round off the meeting, we don't have any health improvement matters, and the work plan was just to review, and sorry, my cursor is not with me today. Just to review the work plan for our final 2 meetings of this cycle. We will get a draft work plan for 22-23 at the meeting in March. So are there any items on there, Louise, that on reflection you feel perhaps need to be moved around or are in the wrong place? I was wondering whether, as we're I think planning for the April meeting to focus on adult social care, I wondered whether the annual report on the Care Home Oversight Board might better fit in the April meeting than in the March meeting. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, I think that would fit well. That'd be fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And in terms of people who might be responsible for any of these items for the last 2 committees, is there anybody out there that feels that the timing of these items are no longer appropriate? No. Okay, so are you content to just agree that that's our draft? I mean, I would imagine it might look very different by the time we get to January, as it always does. I'm sure, Linda, this is something that you'll be well aware of as in your role as chair of the council committee, that it looks fine in the work plan, and then when you get to the meeting, it's all very different. But there you go. Okay, you also have the dates of the next meeting and any other business. Is there any other business anybody wants to raise? Okay, well, thank you very much, and apologies for running over time and not being able to give you a break, but I think there was obviously a lot of issues around the COVID and vaccination programme that we needed to hear about today, and it was right to give some extra time to that. So thank you very much, and good afternoon.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.